As you watch this video, can you tell which side of the nose you're breathing out of right now? Have you ever noticed that most of the time you are going to be breathing out of one nostril or the other, and that the breath switches back and forth throughout the day and through the night? Whether you're breathing on the right or the left or the middle, each creates a number of different measurable effects in the body and the brain that with training you could also subtly learn to feel in your mind and your energy. And if the breath doesn't naturally switch from side to side, it can be an indicator or even a cause for illness. Scientists are catching up to what yoga has pointed out for 1,000 years or more, that the flow of your breath between the nostrils is more significant than you might imagine. Let's jump into it. Breath yoga is the combination of breath work and yoga to bring this experience of breath and energy freedom. I'm Adrian Cox, and on this channel I share practices and knowledge about the body, breathing, and mindset to help you to heal, to strengthen, and to energize, and to awaken into your own potential. If this sounds like something you want more of in your life, then please subscribe because it helps this channel grow. Thanks so much. Many of the functions in our body oscillate between two different states. The rest and digest function of the nervous system oscillates with the activation side of our nervous system. The heart rate speeds up and slows down, the blood pressure dilates and constricts, and our breath comes in and goes out. And in about 85% of the population, the breathing oscillates between one nostril and the other, over and over throughout the day and through the night. This is a cyclical switch which is done by your nervous system, which happens anywhere between an hour and 4 hours, although this can vary between people and can be influenced by the position of your body. Although yogis have been aware of this for thousands of years, the nasal cycle phenomenon was rediscovered in a Western scientific context in 1895 by a German nasal specialist named Richard Kaiser. How your nose accomplishes this switch is via erectile tissue, which is very similar to the erectile tissue in a penis or a clitoris. And erectile tissue will swell in one nostril, while on the other side it will shrink, which opens up that side for breathing. You may have noticed that if you lay down on one side, for example, that after a few minutes, the nostril on the opposite side will start to open for more breath. This happens because the tissue on the side that you're laying on will swell up. And so the one on the opposite side will decrease its swelling, and then the breathing will switch. So for example, if you lay down on your left side, then your right nostril will start to open and your left nostril will close. The science indicates that whichever nostril you are breathing in and out of greatly affect the body and the brain. For example, a study done in 1988 showed that the right nostril breathing increases blood glucose levels, while breathing through the left lowers it. Isn't that interesting? So we could speculate what might happen if a person was permanently breathing, for whatever reason, on the right nostril. And there is some evidence to show that breathing through the right nostril only for many years without switching can be an incredibly significant cause of diabetes. Another study from 1993 shows that when you're breathing on the right nostril, you're using significantly more oxygen than when you're breathing through the left. And in a study published in 1994, when you're breathing through the left nostril, the right hemisphere of your brain becomes more active. Good balance of the mind and body is reflected by and influenced by this oscillation of our breathing from nostril to nostril. And even when you go to sleep on one side, you're likely going to move from side to side while you sleep to switch the breath back and forth at regular intervals. Now, from the yoga point of view, all these phenomena that we've just described are exactly in line with what yogis have observed and encoded in their teachings for 1,000 years or more. For example, breathing on the right nostril is associated with the sun or solar energy, while breathing on the left is associated with lunar qualities. While the metaphors of this often go quite deep and they go wide in the yoga context, one could imagine that if you're embodying the active, ongoing mood shift, the outgoing mood shift that comes with breathing on the right nostril, that you might need more blood glucose. Yoga suggests that we should only eat solid food when we are breathing on the right nostril. For an example, breathing on the left side, breathing on the lunar channel, activates the right hemisphere of the brain, which in simplistic terms is the side of our brain which deals in creativity and expansive consciousness, which is, in the yoga metaphor, the reflective moon kind of state of consciousness that comes at the left and the right side of our hemisphere. Swara yoga is this sub-discipline of yoga which studies this oscillation between nostrils in great detail. It suggests that we breathe on one nostril for about 48 minutes to 1 hour. It moves to the middle for 12 minutes, then over to the opposite nostril for 48 to 60 minutes. Within each cycle are these sub-cycles of where the nostril is positioned in a specific kind of area of the nostrils. And the breath, if you can pay close attention, it's going to move between these 5 positions in the nostril over that time that it's on the right or the left. And these are said to relate to the sub-cycles of the 5 elements of earth, water, fire, air, and space. And it's believed that if one can correctly observe which nostril is open and which element is dominant at any one time, that they can come into harmony with much bigger cycles present in the universe and find auspicious timing for any activity. Like if you're going to initiate a venture of some kind, it might be best that you start with the breath on your right nostril. Or if you're going to go into meditation, that it's best to have your breath in the middle, in both nostrils, and so on and so forth. It goes quite deep. Now, in order to influence the breath flow, that is where it should be according to the activity that somebody wants to take, some yogis carry with them a piece of this Y-shaped wood called a yoga staff or yoga danda. And this hooks into the armpit and helps them put pressure onto that side of the body. Because as you'll remember, when we lay on one side or put pressure on it, the erectile tissue will swell in the nostril on that one side, and then the erectile tissue on the other side will shrink. So an astute yogi might move the staff from right to left armpit depending on how he or she would want to influence the breath according to the activity that is at hand. You can use the same principle by putting pressure on one side with your opposite fist. For example, if your left nostril feels blocked, then you can take your left hand into a fist, you put it in between your arm and your torso on the right side, and you use your right arm to add a little pressure. Within a short while, you should start to notice that the left nostril will start to open, and I already feel a little bit. How long it takes is going to be dependent on your state and who you are and a number of different factors. Science seems to have only uncovered a small portion of what yoga has pointed out as it relates to the oscillation of the breath in the nasal cycles, and it would point strongly to the notion that the movement of the breath between your nostrils is significant in nervous system balance. For some, the breath doesn't switch because the structure of the nose may be out of alignment, making one side physically more impinged and restricting the airflow. If this is something that you're experiencing, it's going to be well worth checking with your doctor to see if it can't be surgically corrected. Because from everything I've experienced in my practices and study of yoga and breathing, that getting the balance in the breath between the two nostrils is not only important, it's significant, and it goes much more deeply than it appears. I made a video on a yoga breathing exercise which you can use to switch the breath from side to side to create balance in the mind and body. You can check that one out up here. If you like today's content, if you could tap the like button, that'd be great, and leave a comment in the box below if you learned something new. If you'd like to go deeper into yoga breathing exercises, you may be interested in a course I made on the 3 breath practices of the Mysore yoga tradition to balance the breath flows and to harness their power. I'll leave a link to that course in the description below this video. Thanks so much, and I'll see you on the next video.